wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this one, that one, damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of this, back here with another video. What if Asta was Yuta's reincarnation, part 4, Evolve. And before I get into it, I do want to preface this. I already recorded all of this, but I had to redo it because there's some audio trouble, so I'm a bit peeved. But also, I didn't want to just release something that probably wouldn't even, when I try to render it, I guess you could say, it just didn't work, and I just can't seem to find that certain app, like that good ass software, but I'm getting over it. And I'm gonna apologize for if anything in these lines or anything I say get cut out, because this app is really pissing me off how it keeps doing that. I'll probably re-record it in, but I don't know if I'll get every single thing, but I will try, and I hope you guys will enjoy this part. And it is going to be very action-packed, so get ready for it. And without any further ado, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos, and let's begin with the recap. The last part began with Asta using Kurt's speech on a much higher level to completely destroy all of the undead that had attacked the Clover City capital, I guess you could say, saving Teresa and some orphanage kids. And after this the Midnight Mages arrive, and he begins to destroy them as well and capture them. Well, be fighting Rades and beating him up. Noah and Klaus would be fighting mages as well, and the captains along with some other mages, unfortunately, as they arrive, get teleported away. And Asta, after beating the mages, would be caught off guard and transported to the Midnight's hideout, well, one of their hideouts, where he is attacked by the leader, Licht. However, Asta quickly takes the upper hand and nearly kills him just as he manages to leave and escape, and Julius would then arrive at that moment, and they go check out the hideout together and investigate before returning to the kingdom. The mages promise to get stronger and split up to look for the terrorists, but Asta gets roped into a date with Finral and Luck a few moments later. And at first he hated it, but ends up connecting with Rebecca, who he protects from a drunkard. Of course, Noah was spying on him because of course she would, so she was pretty mad when he ended up going home with her. And Asta goes to her home near the orphanage and plays with the siblings and the orphans. And Gush arrives and gets mad that his little angel is being wooed, but Asta would stop him from doing anything drastic by showing the Inumaki sigil. And Teresa would then take away the kids back to the orphanage, much to the chagrin of Ghosh, who of course sticks around because he's a Siscon. But he becomes angry when he finds out that Mary is gone, and in fact all the kids in the area just left, and so Asta goes looking for them, with Ghosh and Teresa following behind. Asta then arrives at a cave holding the kids, and he beats up Barrow and Nage while freeing the kids of the magic that was holding them. And as he does, Ghosh and Teresa come in, as Ghosh almost kills Barrow and Nage because they hurt Mary, but of course he is stopped by Marie's words. And this is when out of nowhere Sally arrives. Luckily to Asta though, she is nothing but a fly, which he proceeds to quickly destroy along with her salamander. But as he does this, Lick would then arrive, making Asta shield everyone from a barrage of light spears, which he then quickly takes out before then attacking Lick, who arrives with Valtos, and he then tells everyone to leave. And while they do, Valtos tries to go and attack them, only for Rika to stop him, and Asta then beats Lick as he also makes Rika join in, and they tag team him and destroy him, and the captains then arrive with the help of Finral's portal. At that moment is when the third eye arrives, and a fight ensues as Veto is the first to strike, and he goes at Rika, unfortunately, only for him to be taken out from the fight completely with one devastating punch from her. Soon, they are seen losing, the third eye is seen losing, and so Raya teleports everyone away. He has to get past Asta, and using the third eye, he would escape, but barely, just as Rika would rip off his arm when he goes into the portal. And this allows Asta to copy his curse, the curse magic, the eye. And after this, they go back to the kingdom as Geldor, the captain of the Purple Orchis, will be revealed as a traitor, and the Black Bulls are given a mission from Julius to head to the Water Temple for a stone. As Noelle is told to train and get them to the temple, she gets help from Asta, and the two end up meeting Kahona while they're training at night, and they become friends, but she does leave pretty quick. The Bulls later on are then taken down to the temple after some things get on their way, such as, the calm bell and the barrier. Asta cuts through the barrier, and then they arrive. As Charmia sends the group past the rubble on the way, they find the water temple and begin to descend just as its inhabitants would gather to say hi. They land and are met by cheers and questions as the Sea Dwellers haven't had guests in a while. "Are you guys magic knights?" "Enough," Yami would say. "Where's your boss at?" As he would then state this with the look of an aggressor, only for a particular Sea Dweller to do the same, saying he's not intimidated. And this is when one of them would then say, "Oh, you mean the priest? He's over there." The people would then point to the main tower, and Yami would walk off with the Black Bulls following behind, as Asta would say, "I never thought there'd actually be people living down here." Yami to this would then say, "You really don't get up much then, do you?" "I guess not," Asta would say. Mana would then run up and put his arm around his Kohai, saying, "Well, you're gonna see a bunch of crazier stuff from now on." Reaching the stairs, the squad would then walk and walk until they reach the gate, and as Yami is about to kick it down, though, it opens on its own, so they enter and see the silhouette of a certain someone. "Is that the priest?" Noah would ask. As she poses this question, Asta would then sense something and turn with a punch that releases a torrent of cursed energy, making everyone turn to see him obliterate a giant sort of sea creature popping up behind them. Noah would erupt into a scream, noticing it, but it quickly disappears as they didn't hear her laughing. The laugh of the priest would then make the bulls turn to see him walk out, as he would be an old man with a conniving stare. "What are you, my boy? I can't feel an ounce of magic from you," the priest would ask. "I hear that a lot," Asta would say, and the priest would say, "Well, either way, I'm impressed. So, you're here for the stones, right? Then first play a game with me." They're surprised he knows why they're here, only for him to then change into a pervert, saying the game was called some boob rubbing game or some weird shit, and this would make Noel knock him back with a punch, as Asta would chuckle, and the priest would then say, "Hey, I was just joking, I never actually do that." "Keep those filthy thoughts locked in your old head, old man," Noel would say, as Manna would be tired of his shtick, and he says that they're not here to play games. "Besides, how do you even know what we're here for?" "My side is a bit special, you see," the priest would say, "but I'm not changing my mind. So choose, will you leave or play my game?" Mana thinks about it before then calling a conference with the boys, and he says, "Honestly, should we just kick his ass? I could just knock him out, guys," Asta would say, and Gush says, "Nah, let's kill him. Honestly, I just love to fight him," Luck would say. The priest honestly sees they all don't care that much, so he adds an extra caveat, saying if they win, they can have all the food and drinks they want. And instantly, this revitalizes them, as Yami would then say, "Fine, bring on this game of yours, old man." The priest would begin to cackle, bringing out his grimoire as he says, "Come on out, Temple Knights." Activating his gamer magic, he would then open up tunnels from a wall behind him, allowing his men to jump out, as they would then land before him, facing the Black Bulls with fish masks. "Did you call for us, sir?" the hammerhead priest would ask, as the priest then looked at the Black Bulls and measured their strength, only to call them average, and this causes the bulls to get riled up, just as the priest would then drop them all using his magic. They're all split up, as when Asta lands, he finds himself facing a knight wearing the face of an octopus. "Huh? Strange, I don't feel any magic from you. Can you even put up a good fight?" the priest would ask. As the bulls are split up, though, Yami was with the priest since he was clearly too strong in the priest's eyes, and Yami doesn't mind though and indulges himself in drinks, just as the priest would then ask what the rank of his squad members are. You know about rankings too, huh? Yami would say. "Well, they're all low-ranked magic knights, but one of them is a senior magic knight." The priest, being interested, then looks to the screen, trying to guess which one of them was a senior, not being interested in the weaklings, only to be shocked when simultaneously, as the bulls meet their opponents, they knock them all out. They destroy their opponents in one blast, shocking him. "Wait, what the? He didn't even use magic." He looks to Asta, who had blown his first opponent through a wall with a strange energy enveloping him while only using a punch. "That's him," Yami would say. The priest looks back at Yami, shocked. "How? I'm pretty sure of it by now. He's not hiding it. He has no magic." "Yeah, he has cursed energy. Just sit down and watch, old man," Yami would say. The priest, being completely bewildered by all this, would then just fall to his seat as he would watch like Yami said, because this is just so abnormal. As Asta beats his first opponent, he then runs forward further into the cave and ends up being attacked by multiple giant creatures. In the blink of an eye, he vanishes and appears above the first, slamming a kick into it, and then he appears below the next, uppercutting it, before then appearing by the last one with a straight punch to its face. While the other faces would then explode with pure cursed energy, Asta's fist would then make impact with the last creature, and sparks of black lightning would release, completely catching the third one off guard and crushing him. "Yep, it's been a while," Asta would say, as he then lands and blasts forward, only to be met by even more of these creatures, but it excites him, and he says to bring it on. The frustrated priest, seeing Asta was just bulldozing through these things that he made himself, then asks what cursed energy is. "Unlike mana, which draws from nature, it draws from humans, specifically negative energy," Yami would say. The priest would then say, "Then, does he... He must have a lot of emotional control. He doesn't look that old." "Sometimes I feel like the kid's a complete psycho," Yami would say, "but I guess you'd have to be to use something like that." "Then what's his specific skill set?" the priest would ask. "This is getting more interesting. Does he only fight barehanded?" Nami would then say to just look at the screen because he was about to find out, as Asta, after beating all those creatures, ended up meeting a knight wearing the face of a swordfish. "You're Asta, right?" Kyoto would ask. Asta notices he seems to be a dual wielder and would bring out his cursed energy katana. "Yeah, that's me." "How'd you know?" "That doesn't matter," Kyoto would say. "I have a lot riding on this fight. If I win, the old man will let me go to the Clover Kingdom." With these words, as if he was dancing, he approaches Asta with quick slashes, only for Asta to block them one-handed and with ease, shocking him. "You want to be a dancer, right?" Asta would say. "You're pretty good." A stunned Kyoto would then up his speed, attacking even faster, but then he instantly has his arms knocked back, as Kyoto would then think, "Who is this guy?" A kick is then slammed into his stomach, sending him flying into a wall, and making his mask come off, before he then falls to the ground on his knees. He finds it hard to even breathe, but he'll get up, surprising Asta, as he would say, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for my dream. Do you happen to know someone named Kahono? Asta would ask, and Kyoto says she's my sister. Oh, she must have told you about me a little bit. He then nods, saying that from what she could tell, Asta was strong, but she couldn't measure how much, and this fighter is Asta who says, well, I can't afford to lose either, so I won't hold back. Meanwhile, Noelle finds her second opponent and finds it to be Kahono as she removes her mask, and she would say, I knew you'd make it. Wait, what? Did you know I would come here? Noelle would ask, and Kahono nods, saying, I knew it was the only way to realize my dream, so yeah. Then you used me? Noelle would say, and Kahono would say, no, I think we became friends, at least in my opinion, but now that we're in this game together, let's just do our best, right? As she pumps her fist, being excited, this would make Noelle say that that's just like her, and she would proceed to point her wand at Kahono, releasing a water lance, which she would dodge before then activating her magic spell called Destruction Bee. As a shockwave approaches Noelle, she forms her sea dragon's cradle, which bounces it back as she says, you're gonna have to try a lot harder than that. Asta hits much harder. As their fight continues, Ghosh wins his fight, as does Vanessa, and Charmy was knocked out earlier by Kahono's magic because she was just messing around. We all know Charmy's strong, she just doesn't care about fighting unless you mess with food, so yeah, she's out regardless. And Finro was just honestly hiding and trying to escape the sea creatures, which made the priest laugh a bit, but overall, the priest's side is losing. A while later, we find Asta running forward with his katana in hand, and Kiyato has lost, and he ends up in a wide area as he sees Luck and Magna both attack the Hammerhead priest, but he would counter them with a giant hammer made of water. As they are nearly hit, however, the priest would then feel some resistance just before his hammer is blown away by Asta, who was just using his bare hand, not even his katana. When did he get here, Gio thought. That's the name of the Hammerhead priest, and as he thought this, Asta would then ready his katana to attack, only to be screamed at by Magna and Luck. Don't. We'll take care of him, Magna would say. Asta then looks and sees the look of determination on their faces, so he lowers his katana while stepping back. Make sure to win. The two would then nod as they step forward, bursting with even more mire than before, while Asta would disappear, and the two would then say, bring it on. The Hammerhead priest is, of course, impressed a bit, but of course he still thinks that he'll win, and he thinks, the one I really have to worry about is that boy. I've never seen someone receive magic with their bare body like that. As he gathers his thoughts, though, Mana and Luck will then attack simultaneously at incredible speed, hitting him with powerful attacks, but he then blocks them with a shield, only for the shield to then start cracking, and as it does, the two will then raise their power even more and completely destroy it, leaving the priest fully shocked. As the game continues, Asta will go around beating the remaining priests until he finds a woman he did not recognize, and as she crawls up behind a rock, a worried Asta will then ask if she was okay. Hi, Asta, the woman would say, as Asta would then ask, you know who I am? Is she a priest? No, she couldn't be, Asta thought. He then asked who she is, and much to his surprise, she would quickly meekly say that she was Gray, and back at the watching room, Yami would spit his booze onto the priest, who would yell at him, what's the big idea? That's Gray, Yami would say. How do you not know what your own mage looks like? Are you stupid? The priest would yell. Now we will stop and go back to the kingdom, and the mood is not exactly as go-lucky as it should be, as Nozel looks down at his rival with his entire right arm missing as he lays in a deep coma. How? How did this happen? Nozel would ask. Nozel asked this to Alan, the residential leader of the Clover Kingdom, who says it was guaranteed to be those people who were attacked us days before. The Knights reported him falling into a portal, and as he resurfaced, he was completely beaten and bloody. Saying nothing more, Nozel would then walk out of the castle and come across his men and the Crimson Knights, who have a look of complete anger. Are you seething, Leopold? Nozel would ask. Then use that anger and get stronger. He'll be fine, he's my brother, Leopold would say. But even then, I can't forgive these bastards. Taking his thumb and lighting it on fire, he burns his forehead, making a pact to destroy the man, or the men who clearly nearly killed his family, and Nozel would then walk past them as his men follow behind. Head back to base. I'm gonna meet Julius. With these words, we then cut to black and see all the captains gather before Julius in the throne room, as he would then say, we don't know if he'll recover. I've made a terrible decision. When Asta comes back, he can bring back the arm, but Vandos would then say, we'll be sure to exterminate them as fast as possible. You can count on us. Back at the water temple, the game has ended as Magna and Luck will be looking down at the Hammerhead priest who they had beaten, and as the two fist bump with heavy breath, they would say, hell yeah. As they beat him, the voice of the priest is then heard throughout the entire cave, as he would say, the Black Bulls win the game. Damn it. We find Asta running up to see Kahona and Noelle having finished their battle, And quickly they notice him as he asks if they're okay, and Noelle would say, yeah, and I actually used real spells this time. With a look of pride, Asta would then start to ruffle her hair, saying that's awesome, making her blush, before she then realized what was going on and she would quickly turn red. Oh, she's got a crush, Kahono thought. As Asta takes his head off her head, however, he feels something and quickly turns as Kahono would then ask if something was wrong, and Asta says he has a bad feeling. After this, everyone gathers again, and Gray is unable to hide her appearance, so now everyone knows about her true identity and that she's a girl, which is a bit shocking, but regardless, they won. So hours later, after having won, the Black Bulls exit the temple, with Yami putting the stone in his pocket, as he would then say to Asta, I heard you got a bad feeling. A lot of negative energy is radiating from the Glory Kingdom right now, he would say, as Yami would then say, guys, we're going back quickly. But what about the food? Vanessa would say, as everyone then agrees, especially Charmy. But Yami would then say, "We're going back." Yes, Captain. What happened anyway? Magna would ask. We'll find out when we return. Asta would say. Before they leave, though, Asta and Noel go say goodbye to Kiato and Kahono, saying they hope they someday are allowed to stay on the surface as long as they want. With that, the Bulls return as Yami would then take Asta to the castle, and there they are told of what happened to Fulgolion. And as they stand before Julius, Yami would then ask, "Are you calm, kid?" I'm gonna destroy them, Asta says with a smile. Well, there is something you can do for him right now. Is it possible to regrow his arm? Julius would ask. Well, where is he? Asta would ask. Julius would then get up and walk out from behind his desk, saying to follow him, and moving through the castle, they end up in the nursing room to see Alan taking care of the captain. Oh, welcome. Is this him? Alan would ask. Yes, he should be able to bring it back, Julius would say. Asta would then walk over to Fugolion and kneel down as he says, I don't know him very well, but out of all those nobles, he seemed the kindest. He raises his hand before then touching him on the stump that he now has, releasing a burst of transparent energy that envelops Fergolion, and slowly his arm will regrow before the energy then disperses, and he is left completely fine, now having regained his arm. And Alan will be shocked how seamlessly and quickly Asta was able to do such a thing. Could I ask how that's even possible? Your cursed energy, as you call it, innately seems more suited for combat, so how? It's not cursed energy, technically, it's reverse cursed energy. Cursed energy comes from my negative emotions, so in contrast to use reverse cursed energy, I create positive cursed energy by multiplying my... Okay, it's really complicated, but he's good now. Alan will then thank him and then bow to Julius, apologizing that he couldn't perform his job correctly, and Julius would then say, it's fine. Ayami would then say, well, what now? Do we even know anything about their location? And Julius would then shake his head, and Asta would start walking out, as he tells Yami he's going to be going to train. Can I not return to base today? Yami, without even looking back, would smile as he says, just don't cause any trouble. Asta would then nod, and we cut to Yuno, now having been been able to manifest Bell, as he chases down some rogues and knocks them all out at the speed of sound, just as Alec-Dora and Langris arrive, with Alec-Dora seething at the thought of not being able to keep up with the commoner. Even Langris couldn't, and Bell would say, that was awesome, and Yuta would thank her as he then looks to his senpais and asks where they're going next, and he looks back at Alec-Dora and Langris, and Alec-Dora is about to say something, when Langris would then walk out and come face to face with the newbie. You've been acting a bit arrogant lately, haven't you? What's that supposed to mean? Yuno would ask, and Langris would say, it's not good to show up your seniors like that. I'm gonna kick your ass if you don't get out of my face, Yuno would say. This change in attitude takes Langris a bit off guard, but he can tell Yuno is not joking. Being brothers with someone like that means that you must be confident, but I won't let that pass. Langris then says to bring it on, and Yuno would then lift an eyebrow to this as he would explode with mana, pushing Langris into Alec-Dora. As he gets off Alec-Dora, however, is when they both look forward to see Yuno and sense his ridiculous amount of mana. I might not be Asta, but don't think you can push me around, seniors. To be someone like you, Asta wouldn't even need cursed energy. So what do you think that means for someone who's been fighting him since we were kids? His mana then quickly dies down, however, and he says, I don't know what your obsession with nobles being superior is. It's just not gonna get you anywhere. You just learned a few days ago that some people can't be defined by their status. Is it that Asta again? You talk about him way too much, Bub would say, and you would say, well, that's because he's my rival. Fade to black. The next day outside the capital, slowly a horde, I mean a giant horde of Diamond Kingdom mages approach, as Brokos, one of the generals, would then say, alright, let's destroy these weaklings. Wait, sir, do you see that? One of his men would ask. Brokos would then yell, asking what he's talking about, only to see Rika flying above and in front of the capital while Asta stands on her shoulders, and behind him will be the entire kingdom waiting to attack. What the hell is that thing? They'd be thinking, as Rika would then scream, and this signals the knights to create a barrier, and as they do, it envelops the entire capital, just as one of the 8 generals, Ragus, pulls back his arm and releases a storm of lightning. Asta would then jump and land onto Rika's arms as she hoisted him forward, and this would let him blitz the general as he appeared right behind him in the blink of an eye, and as he goes to turn, Ragus' head is cut off, shocking all the mages, just as Rika would then open her mouth, releasing a giant blast that hits the entire right side of the army. The rest would then break through the barrier and enter, just as they are met by the Clover Kingdom mages, as Brokos would then say, "That bastard's got some weird power, stay on guard." After he yells this, Asta will then be taking down more mages, and he takes down another general by himself, just as he's surrounded by all the mages who will attack him all at once, only for him to then take out his anti-magic sword and hold it up, causing it to absorb the magic, before then spinning and releasing it back at all the mages, sending them flying. "Rika!" he would yell, as Rika would then nod as she flies into the city, and while some mages find themselves about to be destroyed by a giant boar made from Brokos' ochre magic, I hope I said that correctly, they would then say, "Get ready! Fire!" As they yelled this and the attack is sent at them, however, they find that their counterattack didn't even affect the creature, and Brokos would laugh, only for Rika to then descend right in front of the creature and stopping it with one hand, shocking the Clover and Diamond Mages. "Seriously, what the hell is that thing?" the Diamond Mages would say, as Rika would then lift up the creature and throw it back at Brokos, who manages to cancel it out, only to be blinded by another huge release of cursed energy, which turns him to nothing in an instant. "Thank you so much," the Clover Mage would say, as Rika would then turn and simply ignore them as she flies past and over them, just as Asta would then fly back into the city, having already taken out all of the remaining mages outside. "Rika, combo now!" The two would then combine their fists and slashes to destroy mage after mage who were raining down attacks, leaving those from other squads completely impressed. Asta then holds his finger out at some point and points it forward, releasing a huge purple-colored burst of cursed energy, which skewers another Diamond General, and at this point, the entire city has been put into a fight. And as the Golden Dawn had arrived, they were fighting to protect people with the Black Bulls, and some other mages who were not, like, specific to any squads, you know what I'm trying to say. And Yagos, one of the generals, would be dominating a fight as he is using his mucus magic, and he smothers knights in the substance with a smile. "Can't any of you even fight? Even some magicless fuck was better than you." He then senses something as he barely dodges to the side, as behind him, a building would then be cut in half, and before him lands Langris. Can you stay still for a moment? I want to cut out your tongue real quick for your blasphemous words." What the hell? Isn't that supposed to be teleportation magic?" "I'm a bit of a special case," Langris would say, as his hand would then release purplish mana, and he swipes forward, and the mage finds his entire right side ripped off. As he kills the general is when Vengeance's giant tree would then erupt as he amazes everyone and begins to feed off their enemies to help the Clover mages. And he also did this because people are still being evacuated, so we will actually go to funeral evacuating them. Alright, everyone. Carefully, don't worry, it'll be fine." As the people enter the portal, they then thank Finral, who says it's no problem, to pay no mind, just as Asta would then land down asking if he got everyone. "Wow, it's him, he's actually here," the people will be saying, just as Rika would then fly past and over them, like, she's in the sky right now, punching through a magic attack sent at her and releasing her own massive blast of cursed energy. "Don't tell me that's all you got," she yelled, and her intense pressure this time only affected the Diamond Mages, who slowly lose their will to even fight, but Rika doesn't stop attacking and chasing after them. At this point, those people safely leave, and Fernro with a nervous smile would then say, "Yeah, Rika's enjoying this a bit much, huh? Yeah, she doesn't go out much. I guess that's my fault," Asta would say. "So this is where you were. I always wanted to meet you." Asta and Finral then turn to see Langris, and instantly Finral gets a bit more meek. Asta notices, and he inspected and saw Langris was clearly from the Golden Dawn. "Oh, you're with you now. Nice to meet you." He then holds his hand out, and Langris with a fake smile would stare him down as he thought, how the hell can he do that? That eerie energy shouldn't be something a human can just freely release. However, he does shake Asta's hand and asks how it's been being with his brother. I'm sure he's let you down much like he has everyone his entire life. Asta would then let go of his hand as he decides to control himself more, and he simply smiles. "Fernando can never let me down. You see, all the citizens are gone, right? Well, it wasn't because of a miracle." Fernando, delighted by these words, almost actually doesn't even know how to feel, as Asta then says he needs to go back to work. "Stay out of trouble, senpai." He then flies into the air and releases a gigantic slash of anti-magic, which Rika then hits with a blast from above, causing it to split as it becomes enveloped with her cursed energy and specifically skewers more enemies down below at the speed of sound. Anti-magic scatter bullet. Yeah, I'll keep that. Let's speed up, Rika. As he continues to fight above, Langris would then say, without them, you're nothing, right? I mean, a bunch of miscreants like you only even prevail because that guy's so abnormal." "That's not true," Fernand would say. "We only believe that because we've been lazy, and yeah, that's our fault, but bit by bit, we'll show you how much better we are. Don't underestimate us too much. At least you finally grew a spine. Don't worry, I'll break it down real slow and soon, Langris would say. As hours pass, the diamond mages are completely destroyed and the city gets cleaned up. As the bulls then go home with Yami then making an announcement. Alright, you idiots, because you finally started doing some shit. Mostly Asta. We finally reached 100 stars. We're back in the positives. As they cheer, Yami would then bring them in and has some meat ready for them to cook, and they begin to barbecue and enjoy themselves. Hey kid, does Rika eat? Yami would ask. I mean, she eats human flesh. Dude, not at the barbecue, Yami would yell, as Asta would then say, You asked. I asked if she ate. You were trying to gross me out. He then takes some of Asta's cooked meat as punishment, causing him to yell for it back as the two then begin to bicker, and as they do, Noah would then say to calm down because they're scaring Gray, who will be hiding in a corner. Oh, sorry, do you want some? Asta would say, as he offers some of his food to Gray, only for Luck to then steal it. Oh, come on. Give me a second, I'll get it back. Luck, I'm gonna rip that smug smile off her face. Gray, however, would just be happy that they even cared enough about her, even though she is trying to stay as inconspicuous as possible. And at this moment is when Ghosh would give her a piece of steak. Ghosh, Gray would say, Eat up, you'll like a wreck. As she blushes, she takes and bites into the food, finding it delicious, and they just have a good old time. The next day, we begin with a different perspective, though, that of Domina, the wife of Kruger, a former witch, and we also are looking at Marie, a former diamond mage assassin and a student of Kruger, and a friend of Domina. A knock is heard at the door of their house, as Domina will then go and open it up to see Julius and Noel. Wow, Noel, I didn't know you were coming, and with the king. Sorry to intrude, Julius would say. As he says this is when Kruger would step out of the shower naked, forcing Noel to cover her eyes as she blushes, and Kruger would say, Oh, sorry, I didn't know we had guests. His wife would then slap him across the face, saying to put on clothes regardless. Is this how you're going to repay Sir Julius for letting us stay here? By flashing him? Sorry, I'll get dressed. Give me a second, Kruger would say. Moments later, when he is dressed, Julius would then say, tell him and everyone that he needs a bit of help getting a certain stone from the witch's forest. And hearing this would make Domina much more serious as she says, That's a suicide mission in all seriousness. The queen cares for her children, but those who have been deserted or left no longer are considered even living beings in her eyes. That's a bit extreme, isn't it? Noel would say. That's just how things work, Domina would say. Over there, it's just a completely different world. Julius, however, says not to worry. Asta's coming with you. You'll be fine. You're really gonna bet this all on one kid, she would ask? Kruger, however, says not to worry. That kid's not someone I think even the king himself could take down. This comes as a shock to the three women, including Noel, but Julius would say, I would guess he'd easily win. With Rika, he'd destroy me, but like I said, he'll be fine. Well, if you say so, Domina would say, as her attitude would completely do a 180, and she then asks when they're going. Now, if that's okay, Julius would say, and this is when they hear a voice. Hello, sir. Kruger recognizes his voice and would look outside their window to see Asta waving at him, and he would lighten up. How you been? Same old, Asta would say. And by the way, for context, on one of the many missions Asta went on, he brought almost everyone from the Black Bulls to come help and save Kruger and his friends and his wife, since, they're friends, and he actually helped Asta train, and I hinted to this before. So, we then go to the witch's forest hours later, as the queen will then sit on her throne, bored out of her mind, when she feels something wrong, but she doesn't know how to describe it, and in front of her from a shadow rises out Asta, Noel, Funeral, Vanessa, Domina, Marie, and Kruger. That wasn't magic, was it? The queen would say. Also, what are you two doing back here? Her tone releases a malicious intent that makes it aware to everyone that this woman, what the hell was that? She's not a kid. That this woman is in a bad mood, but also she is very dangerous. Asta would then step up as he's not affected by her mana or bloodlust, as he is in fact absorbing it passively, and he gets on one knee trying to be respectful. We've been sent from the Clover Kingdom to get a stone you're possessed, ma'am. I think it's actually on that earring of yours. We didn't come here to fight you, Vanessa would say. For such an incomplete child to come to my throne room, and with men of all things, the witch would say, you have a lot of nerve. Asta would then stand saying, Hey, I was talking to you, right? The queen herself begins to sweat nervously as Asta's demeanor changes completely, and he is no longer trying to be polite, and Kruger will be impressed since he himself has never seen Asta act this way. He then whispers to Vanessa, It's like he's a completely different person. Yeah, he tends to get mad when people make underhanded comments at people close to him. I just hope they don't fight, Vanessa would say. As the tension rises, however, both Asta and the queen sense something, as the queen would then summon a crystal ball and look through it, and she sees two armies heading over, one from the Diamond Kingdom, and the other is from the Eye of the Midnight Sun. I did not know they'd come so soon, the queen would say. Fernand would then say, Asta, is something wrong? And Asta would then calm down, saying, if we stop the armies, will you give us a stone? Are we clear on that? As the queen thinks on this, we then go outside to where the witches begin to fight against the Eye of the Midnight Sun, who would destroy the queen's golem with ease, but as they attack, again, a certain word would echo out. Explode. The attack sent towards the witches would then explode as Asta flies past the women, heading for the Midnight Sun, the Eye of the Midnight Sun members, and they then recognize it. That weird ability. It must be him, the second in charge would say, as Asta would then burst through the smoke, and he would then open his mouth wide, saying to stop. This freezes the mages in their tracks, shocking the witches, as Rika would then form behind them, saying, don't attack, Yuta! She would then scream, release a giant and massive beam of cursed energy that envelops and blows away the entire group with ease. Who is that man, the witch would be saying, and what's that thing with him? Rika would then turn to see all these girls around and surrounding Asta, and instinctively she grabs onto him, saying that he is hers, making the witches realize that she's a girl, because of course she is, and this is when they would ask, why would you ever embrace a man? Are you under his possession? Should we help you? Rika would then say that she loves Yuta and to leave before she kills them all, causing them to run away in fear, just as Asta says he's not going anywhere. Also, witches think that they're the superior sex, apparently. Trust me, if they wanted me, it'd be to throw me out or kill me. Well, then maybe I should just kill them, Rika would say. And as she says this, a gigantic flash of light hits her back, just as Rika would turn and a gigantic fireball would make impact. This time it's just me and you, human, Fauna would say. As the smoke clears, Asta would then fly towards Fauna, with Rika being behind him, and quickly Fauna Salamander would then claw at them, releasing giant slashes of fire, only for Rika to release her own slashes of cursed energy, while Asta would then reach and kick Fauna in the stomach, sending her flying farther into the sky, while Asta would then disappear and appear behind her. But as he does and goes to strike, she would then turn to reveal her third eye, as she would erupt with mineral armor, and multiple mineral shards would then form and rush Asta, who would kick the air, and as he pushes himself back, he would then cut them up. Don't get too cocky. You simply caught me off guard last time, Fauna would say, as Asta would then breathe in and hold his hand up, and a ring would form around his finger. In that instant, his forehead would then open up, and an eye, much like Fauna's, would then form, and his cursed energy becomes overwhelming, terrifying the girl. How can you have such a thing? As she asked this, she then hears the screams of her salamander, as Rika would then appear right behind Asta, opening up her one eye as well. And Fauna would think, it destroyed a spirit? How is that even possible? Asta would then point his katana forward as it would explode with something else. Something different that Fauna had never felt before. Positive cursed energy. This aura confused Fauna, but she would attack with attacks of fire and minerals, and in response to this, Asta would then rush forward, with Rika taking care of all the attacks sent at Asta, until he would then close the distance between them in an instant, and he cuts her faster than she can even perceive, as her eyes then go blank. She explodes with cuts, which then instantly close up and re-heal, but she loses consciousness due to the overwhelming pain, and as she begins to fall, Asta would then catch her. Asta's third eye would then disappear, as the ring would then disappear as well, and as such, Rika would then leave back to her void. And Asta would say, this isn't just curse magic, it's like a whole another entity. Putting his katana away, he would then hold his hand over her forehead, and a murky aura begins to release from her. Asta, however, absorbs it and makes it a part of himself, and as such, he gains a vague memory. All he sees is a forest, a beautiful forest, and the laughter of children will be heard, and it's as if he can literally feel the calming wind on his skin, in contrast to the bombastic battlefield he was currently in. He then returns to the real world, and Fauna's murderous rage would disappear as she opens her eyes. Oh, hello, Fauna would say. Sorry about this, but we're kind of short on time, Asta would say. Quickly would then fly off, telling her that it seems that she has been possessed for quite a while now. I do have some vague feelings and memories, Fauna would say, but they're not from me. Where are we? The witch's forest, Asta would say. Meanwhile, the Black Bulls would be charging the Diamond Mages as the witches are forced to help them, and Kruger takes the lead as he would then blow through the army, and as he is, Mars and Ladros will be watching the fight from above, and Ladros becomes bored and begins to descend. I'll be back, I just wanted on the fun, you know? As if you ever listened to me anyway, Mars would say, as Ladros with a smile would then release his magic, only for Kruger to restrain him with his wind magic. I taught you better than this, how can you take pleasure in doing things like this, Kruger would say. That old hag, or queen or whatever, she's been hogging this place. All our king wants is a bit of conquest. What's wrong with that, Ladros would say. As Kruger would then see that he's completely over the edge, like this is not the same kid that he thought. But what Ladros says next would shake him. Don't act like you're some merciful man when you taught us how to fight, Sensei, so this is on you as well. You're the reason why this is happening. With these words, he begins to absorb the magic holding him, shocking Kruger, but he attacks with a slash, only for Mars to interfere, creating a mineral shield which would then explode with shards that Kruger would have to dodge. As he does, Lodgers would then release multiple blasts from his body as he would yell, "Million Laser!" Many magic bullets would then reach the forest and bombard it with cataclysmic damage, which incapacitates the witches, and this distracts Kruger, and he is worried for his wife who is down there, just as Mars would then hit him to the ground. And as he crashes into it, he quickly finds Domina and starts to cover her with his magic to protect her, only for Lodgers to interrupt and kick him across the ground. He then goes and grabs Domina by the collar as he says, "So this is your special person. I'm a little bit jealous." "Lodgers, this is a warning for you and Mars," Kruger would say. "If you go down this path, what happens next? I will not be able to control. You need to use your powers for—" "I have been using my powers for good, if that's what you were going to say. For the good of myself," Lodgers would say. "It's so much more fun hurting people than being a coward like you who hides his true self. And you can take a moment to learn how it feels to be hurt." As he hears this, Lodgers' arm would then be cut off, shocking Mars, but he recognizes this certain energy. And as Domina falls right before her and in front of Lodgers appears Asta, whose energy would force him to the ground, just as Asta would then kick him across the face, sending him flying before he then opens his mouth and uses the Inumaki sigil to pull him back down. "What the hell? This isn't some magic," Lodgers would say. As he says this, he is then pulled down towards Asta, who would then strike him in the stomach, causing a crack to form in the air, and he punches him in the stomach, like full on, like he does not hold back at all, and he would then say, "Thin icebreaker." Lodgers' stomach would then be blown out completely before it then quickly reheals, as does his cut arm, and he loses consciousness as he falls over. "I did warn him," Kruger would say. Asta would then look up to Mars, who then gets on guard, but Asta ignores him as he starts to heal Domina. Why isn't he attacking, he thought. As he thinks this, though, he hears a familiar voice, as does Kruger, and they both turn to see Fauna. Asta, as he finishes healing Domina, would then say that they had a quick little scuffle, but she's back to herself, just as Fauna would then hug a surprised Mars, who would then hug her back, and Asta would then move on to Kruger and heal him as well, allowing him to stand. "Don't worry, he's still alive," Asta would say. "Thanks," Kruger would say, but Mars. "Yeah, I think he's gonna be fine. I mean, look at him. He's too scared to even move." He says this because Mars is obviously in a bit of a shock because he has a thing for Fauna and vice versa. Moments later, the Diamond Mages have been taken care of and everyone would gather as Mars would then apologize to his master and Kruger forgives him and he is simply happy that they're all back together. "Now we have to get the stone," Vanessa would say, and as she says this, she hears a crow and many, many more of them as they would then appear out of nowhere and form into a sphere which would then open up to reveal the queen. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words a bit. And the queen would then ask, "Who are you? A being like you should not exist." "Okay, that's rude," Asta would say. If magic is such a normal thing, then it's not that big of a deal, right, guys?" Asta would say. As he then turns to his friends, who would then shake their heads, and Kruger would say, "I literally saw you crack air. You can see why she'd say that." Just give me the stone," Asta would say. "If you're gonna start a fight, then Rika might eat you alive. I'm not joking," Asta would say. "Well, he's the only one who can ever say things like that so easily," Domina would think, as she has nervous sweat just running down her face. The queen would then begin to think, that creature, this Rika, is an absolute monster obsessed with him. Having her as part of my kingdom would be a great addition. She would then walk towards Asta and give him the stone, but as he grabs it, instantly his arm was just like explode with blood, as his veins then begin to become corroded, with the queen then summoning her grimoire, and instantly everyone gets ready for a fight, as they realize she never planned to even just give them what they wanted, like nicely, and just do as they pleaded. But quickly, her blood magic would then, spread when they tried to attack her and create an entire territory made of blood, which would shackle all of them. And Asta, as he's being taken over, would then ask why she's doing this. "I told you, Rika's gonna kill you. Are you insane? I'm the queen. I don't care about a creature like that. Why do you think I would care? Let go of Yuta." This voice would then reach everyone as the queen then feels a chill run down her spine, and it is heard again as Rika would then break out of her void, with her then opening her eye and releasing a huge amount of cursed energy, which would then immediately cause the queen to lose control. This frees Asta, who would then slightly buckle as he would then say, "Rika, stop. I'm fine, see?" However, Rika is already about to bite off the head of the queen, who will be totally terrified. Asta can bring her back under control, and he's about to, like usual, but Rika's bite would then miss, and they all see a cat on her head. It was a cat made of strings, red strings, which were coming from Vanessa. The red thread of fate, the queen thought, as Vanessa would then say she doesn't know what's going on, but Asta should reel in Rika. And Asta would do so, as Rika would then disappear back into her void, and Asta stares down the queen, saying, "Okay, guys, I'm just gonna kill her real quick. Give me a moment. Wait, you said not to do that, Noah would say. I changed my mind. And he would then start walking towards the queen, and everyone would be forced to hold him back, but barely managed to do so, as Vanessa is only able to tell him that she is fine, and that's what stops him. So they leave and part ways, as Mars then gets a certain potion from the queen as collateral damage for her bullshit. So this potion can help him control the king, so he can make the kingdom better. And Lajos, who had his ass beat, finally came back to his senses. Fauna went with Kruger, Domina, and Marie, and the bulls are going back home with the stone. And Asta actually gives the stone to Nero to hold on because she was just like pecking him for some reason. Jeez, just take it. What was that for? He would ask. Maybe she just liked how shiny it is. But Vanessa senpai, what was that cat thing? Seriously. Vanessa herself does not know exactly what it is, but she assumes it is something that the queen has been trying to awaken in her. Who cares? Let's go home. I'm starving. Fernando would then nod and make a portal, and they go back to the hideout. And this brings us to the end of the part. Welcome to the end of the video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this part. Honestly speaking, this was the most action-packed one I've ever given you by far. I had all the arcs covered, and I went in excruciating detail. And honestly, I think it's one of the best parts and episodes of anything. Okay, maybe I'm overreacting a bit, but I love Yuta. Okay, I love this nigga. He's so dope. He's overpowered. He's OP, and I love that. I'm still trying to work on what if Asta was Itachi's reincarnation. That part will be the last one. I've decided it now because honestly, the devils are really boring, and I've been reading the manga. My boy Tabata, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, what? Why? Why? Why would you do? What is this? What is this monstrosity? The power of friendship? This is not fairy. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I still love this series. I just wish that Tabata would not do the crap that he was doing right now, because it kind of ruined Black Clover for me. Because there's no more greedy aspect. I mean, there are devils coming to the world, and you want me to believe they can be beaten by the power of friendship? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up on all dates. To stay up. I did not do that right. Just stay up to date on all my videos, and I will go and make more of these. So y'all ain't gotta worry about anything. What if Deku would wipe your powers is also coming along. I hit a bit of a roadblock, like I said, but I've gotten back into it because I had a bit of a dark moment with the series. So trying to get out of that is a bit hard for me. I'm not really good at that, but I figured out a way with comedy because of course it's fucking MHA. All right, I will see you in the next video. Peace.